My best friend Maya was going to pay for this. Seriously, I was already planning her funeral as I sat at the corner table of the Olive Branch, checking my phone for the third time in 5 minutes. The restaurant was packed with Seattle's Friday night crowd. Young professionals pretending they could afford $30 pasta, couples on dates that looked way more successful than mine was about to be, and a waiter who kept side-eyeing me like he knew I was about to get stood up. "He's perfect for you, Emma," Maya had squealed yesterday, practically shoving her phone in my face to show me his profile. "Smart, funny, has a great job." "You said that about the last guy, and he spent 2 hours explaining cryptocurrency while I pretended my pasta was fascinating," I'd interrupted, not looking up from my laptop where I was writing yet another thrilling blog post about data backup solutions. That was one time. It was 3 times Maya. 3 different crypto brothers. I can now explain blockchain technology, and I hate that I can. But Maya had those puppy dog eyes down to a science, and somehow here I was, 28 years old, wearing my good jeans, the ones without the mysterious stain on the knee, and the blouse that made me look like I had my life together instead of someone who'd eaten cereal for dinner 4 nights this week. Waiting for a blind date with someone named Jack. The restaurant was one of those trendy places in downtown Seattle where everything was artisanal and cost 3 times what it should. Exposed brick walls, Edison bulbs hanging from the ceiling, and a menu that used words like deconstructed and farm to table without irony. I worked as a content writer for a mid-sized tech company, which meant I could afford this place exactly once a month, and this was it. I was contemplating whether it would be socially acceptable to order bread and just fill up on that when I heard my name. "Emma?" I looked up to find a tall man with dark hair and startlingly blue eyes standing beside my table. He wore a casual button-down shirt that probably cost more than my entire outfit, and jeans that fit him in a way that suggested they were tailored. Something about the way he carried himself screamed expensive. Maybe it was the watch. Definitely the watch. That thing could probably pay my rent for 6 months. "Jack." I stood up awkwardly, nearly knocking over my water glass. My napkin fell to the floor. I bent to pick it up at the same time he did, and we almost headbutted each other. "Great start, Emma." "That's me." He smiled, and I had to admit, Maya hadn't oversold the looks department. The man looked like he'd walked out of a magazine spread titled, "Men Who Have Their Life Together." "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was murder." "In Seattle?" "No way," I said sarcastically as we both sat down. "I'm shocked. Truly. Next you'll tell me it's raining." He laughed. Like really laughed. Threw his head back, full body laughed at my incredibly mediocre joke about Seattle traffic. Literally the most basic observation anyone could make about this city. I blinked. "It wasn't that funny." No, it was great," he said, still grinning like I'd just delivered a stand-up routine. "You're funny." "Okay then." Maybe he was nervous? Some people laughed when they were nervous. I did that once during a presentation, and my boss asked if I needed to use the bathroom. The waiter came by, a hipster guy with a man bun who introduced himself as Sage because of course he did, and I ordered the chicken marsala because it was the cheapest entree that didn't scream, "I'm broke and should probably be eating at Denny's." Jack ordered the steak without even looking at the prices, which should have been my first clue that something was different about this guy. "So, Maya tells me you're a writer?" Jack asked, leaning forward with what seemed like genuine interest. "Content writer," I corrected, trying not to wince. "Mostly I write blog posts about cloud storage solutions and why our software is better than our competitors." It's exactly as exciting as it sounds. Yesterday I spent 4 hours writing about data encryption protocols. 4 hours. I can never get those hours back. Jack burst out laughing again, slapping the table hard enough that our water glasses shook. Several people at nearby tables turned to look. "Cloud storage. That's hilarious." I stared at him. "Is it though? It's literally just storing data. In the cloud. Which isn't actually a cloud. It's just someone else's computer. There's zero humor in the concept." Sorry. He composed himself, wiping his eyes like I'd just told him the funniest joke of his life. You have a great sense of humor about it. Most people would make it sound boring." "It is boring," I said flatly. "That's what I'm trying to tell you." I write boring things about boring technology for people who are forced to read it because their boss told them to understand our product. More laughter. Louder this time. Sage the waiter walked by and gave us a concerned look. What about you? I asked cautiously, starting to wonder if I should be worried. What do you do? Oh, I work in tech too, he said vaguely, taking a sip of his water. Management stuff. Pretty boring, honestly. Lots of meetings. Lots of emails that could have been meetings that could have been emails. Well, at least you're not writing 500-word blog posts about the importance of regular data backups, I said. He nearly spit out his water laughing. Regular data backups. Are you feeling okay? I asked carefully. Do you need me to call someone? Do you have a medical condition I should know about? Never better, he said, grinning at me like I'd just told the joke of the century. This is the most fun I've had in months. Years, maybe. Our food arrived, and I'd barely taken 2 bites when I made the mistake of telling a story about my coworker Derek who'd accidentally sent a meme to our entire department instead of his girlfriend. It wasn't even a funny meme, just a picture of a cat looking confused with the caption, "Me trying to adult." Jack nearly choked on a steak. He was laughing so hard. He actually had to take a drink of water and do that thing where you hold up your hand like, "Give me a minute, I'm dying." It's really not that funny, I insisted, starting to get genuinely concerned for his well-being. Derek was mortified. HR got involved. There was a whole seminar about appropriate workplace communication. I had to sit through 2 hours of PowerPoint slides about email etiquette. The way you tell it. Jack managed between gasps. The detail about the PowerPoint slides. You should do stand-up. I should do stand-up. Me. The girl who once froze during a presentation and recited the Pledge of Allegiance because my brain short-circuited, and that was apparently the only thing I had memorized. This date was getting weird. By dessert, a chocolate lava cake that cost $18 and came with exactly 1.5 strawberries. I'd started testing him. This had become a game. How mundane could I make something and still get a laugh? I spilled coffee on my keyboard this morning, I said, watching him carefully. He chuckled. Coffee on the keyboard. Classic. It shorted out my E key. Do you know how many words have the letter E in them? All of them. Okay, not all of them, but most of them. I had to copy and paste the letter E for 3 hours until IT came by. Hysterical laughter. The couple at the next table was definitely staring now. I watched paint dry on YouTube once when I couldn't sleep, I continued. He nearly fell off his chair. You watched paint dry? It was a 40-minute video. I made it to minute 37 before I passed out. I gave it 3 stars. The pacing was slow. Jack was crying now. Actually crying with laughter. I was starting to wonder if I should be flattered or concerned. Okay, seriously, what's going on? I finally asked as he wiped tears from his eyes. You're laughing at everything I say. Everything. I could probably tell you about my grocery list, and you'd think it was comedy gold. Try me, he said, still grinning. I wrote adult stuff on my grocery list this week because I couldn't remember the word vegetables. He lost it. Complete meltdown. Sage the waiter came over to check if everything was all right, and Jack had to wave him away while trying to catch his breath. What do you mean? He looked genuinely confused when he finally recovered. What's weird about enjoying someone's company? Enjoying someone's company is normal. Laughing like I'm Dave Chappelle when I'm literally just describing my day is not normal. I just think you're funny, he said, the laughter finally subsiding into a warm smile. Is that a crime? It's suspicious, I muttered, stabbing my lava cake, maybe a little too aggressively. Nobody's that funny. Especially not me. My last boyfriend told me my idea of humor was aggressively average. Your last boyfriend was an idiot, Jack said immediately. He was a crypto bro who tried to convince me to invest in something called Elon Doge Moon. Jack's laugh echoed through the restaurant again. Please tell me you didn't. Do I look like someone who makes good financial decisions? I own a car that's held together with duct tape and hope. He leaned back, studying me with those unnervingly blue eyes. There was something in his expression I couldn't quite read. Amusement, yes, but also something softer. Maya said you were self-deprecating. She didn't mention you were this entertaining. Or this honest. Maya says a lot of things. Last month she tried to convince me that wearing crystals would improve my love life. I'm still single and now own $50 worth of rocks. Pretty rocks, but still just rocks. The laugh that erupted from him caused Sage to come over and actually ask if we needed anything. Like, maybe a phone number for a doctor. As we left the restaurant, after Jack insisted on paying despite my protests that I was a feminist who could pay for her own overpriced chicken, he walked me to my car. I can navigate a parking garage alone, I told him. I'm a grown woman. I have mace and everything. I don't doubt it, he said, but he kept walking beside me anyway. But I was raised in a house where my mom would have killed me if I didn't walk a date to her car. Self-preservation. We reached my ancient Honda Civic, vintage 2008, featuring duct tape on the side mirror, a dent in the passenger door, and a bumper sticker that said, "My other car is also a disappointment." He didn't comment on any of it, which I genuinely appreciated. I had a really great time, he said, and he sounded like he meant it. Even though I'm apparently the most hilarious person you've ever met? I asked dryly. Especially because of that. He smiled, softer this time, less manic amusement, and more genuine warmth. Can I see you again? I should have said no. This man clearly had something wrong with his humor receptors. Maybe he'd hit his head recently. Maybe he was on some kind of medication that made everything seem funnier. Maybe this was an elaborate prank and Maya had paid him to make me feel better about my boring life. But there was something about the way he looked at me, like I was actually interesting and not just someone who wrote about software for a living and could barely afford artisanal pasta. Sure, I heard myself say. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? His face lit up like I'd just agreed to marry him. Great. I'll text you. We can do something fun. Not dinner. Maybe something where I can laugh inappropriately at your jokes in a more public setting. Maybe a comedy club? Though you might outshine the professionals. You're weird, I told him. You have no idea, he said, and for some reason, that made me smile. He waited until I got in my car and started it, which took 3 tries because the engine liked to pretend it was dead before grudgingly coming to life, before walking away. I watched him in my rearview mirror, walking toward a sleek black car that probably cost more than I'd make in 5 years. What did you get me into, Maya? I muttered to myself as I drove away. My phone buzzed. A text from the man himself. Thanks for tonight. You made me laugh harder than I have in years. Can't wait to do it again. I smiled despite myself. Then another text. Also, your car is amazing. The bumper sticker is comedy gold. Maybe he wasn't so weird after all. Monday morning arrived with all the enthusiasm of a root canal. I'd spent the weekend texting Jack. Casual stuff, nothing too serious, but he'd maintained his apparent delusion that I was hilarious. I'd sent him a photo of my burnt toast, because I was 28 and still couldn't operate a toaster properly, and he'd responded with 3 crying laughing emojis and "frame this. It's art." I was beginning to suspect he might need a medical evaluation. Or maybe I needed one for continuing to text him. How was the date? Maya ambushed me the second I walked into the office kitchen, appearing out of nowhere like some kind of love-obsessed ninja. Weird, I admitted, pouring my coffee, the cheap office coffee that tasted like regret and broken dreams. He laughed at everything I said. Like everything. It was unsettling. I told him about my grocery list, and he acted like I'd written a Netflix special. Maybe you're funnier than you think, Maya suggested, adding so much sugar to her coffee that it was basically coffee-flavored sugar syrup. I'm really not. I once told a joke at a party, and someone asked if I was okay. Another person thought I was having a stroke. That's because you told a joke about mortality at Jessica's baby shower, Maya reminded me, stirring her coffee. Context, Emma. Context matters. It was a joke about life being short. That's motivational. You said, we're all going to die, so we might as well eat cake. At a baby shower. Before I could defend my excellent baby shower philosophy, our co-worker Sarah rushed in, looking flustered. Her normally perfect bun was slightly askew, and she had that wild-eyed look of someone who'd just gotten alarming news. Did you guys hear? she gasped. The CEO is visiting our floor today. Like, right now. There's a whole thing. I froze mid-sip. What CEO? Our CEO. Jack Morrison. He never comes to this building. He's usually at the main headquarters downtown. But apparently, he's doing some connecting with employees tour or something. Richard sent out an email at like 7 a.m. How do you not check your email? The coffee turned to ice in my stomach. Jack Morrison? Yeah, tall, dark hair, looks like he walked out of a cologne ad. There's a whole memo with his photo. Sarah pulled out her phone, scrolling. Here, look. She showed me the screen. And there he was. My date Jack. Blue eyes, that smile, that same watch that probably cost more than my car. Under a headline that read, CEO Jack Morrison visits Seattle office. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. I have to. I didn't finish the sentence. I just ran. Emma? Where are you? Maya's voice faded behind me as I sprinted down the hallway like my life depended on it. Which, frankly, it might have. I made it approximately 15 feet before disaster struck. I literally crashed into someone. A full-body collision that sent papers flying everywhere and, most importantly, sent the cup of coffee I'd been holding, the expensive Starbucks one I'd bought before the office coffee, because I wasn't a monster, splashing everywhere. Hot coffee went everywhere. Mostly on me, but a significant amount on the expensive suit of the person I'd collided with. I'm so sorry. I started babbling, grabbing napkins from the break room cart that someone had conveniently left in the hallway. I wasn't looking where I was going. I was just, oh my God, your suit. I'm so sorry, I'll pay for the cleaning. Emma? That voice. I knew that voice. That was the voice that had laughed at my burnt toast. The voice that had found my grocery list hilarious. I looked up slowly, like maybe if I did it gradually, reality would somehow shift and it wouldn't be who I knew it was. Blue eyes. That smile, though currently more shocked than amused. That same watch that definitely, absolutely, certainly cost more than my car and was now dripping with coffee. Jack. CEO Jack. CEO Jack Morrison, according to Sarah, who was standing in the doorway with about 15 other people, all of their mouths open so wide they could have caught flies. Oh my God, I whispered. You work here? He asked, looking just as shocked as I felt. Papers were still settling on the floor around us, like the world's worst confetti. You're the CEO? I countered, my voice getting higher. The CEO? Jack Morrison. I mean, technically the president and CEO, but I wrote about cloud storage. I practically shrieked, and I could feel my face heating up in a way that had nothing to do with the hot coffee now soaking through my blouse. You laughed at cloud storage. That's our company's cloud storage. You were laughing at your own product. People were staring now. A lot of people, including my boss, Richard, who looked like he was trying to decide if he should be concerned, start updating his resume, or just slowly back away from the situation. It was funny how you said it, Jack defended, trying to wipe coffee off his jacket. His very expensive jacket that I just ruined. His probably costs more than my monthly salary jacket. Nothing about cloud storage is funny. It's data. It's zeros and ones. It's computers. I was gesturing wildly now, and I think I hit someone. Sorry, whoever that was. Emma, Maya hissed from somewhere behind me. Maybe lower your voice? Like, maybe a lot? But I was on a roll now, my entire body vibrating with mortification and panic, and about 17 other emotions I couldn't even name. You let me ramble about my boring job. You laughed at my burnt toast. You made me think you were normal. I am normal, he protested. Normal people don't laugh at everything. Emma, you asked if you could see me again. I continued, and oh God, was I crying? I was crying. In front of the CEO. In front of everyone. This was happening. This was my life now. You said all those nice things, and you didn't mention that you were literally my boss's boss. 16 levels, actually. Derek piped up from somewhere in the growing crowd. The corporate ladder has 16 rungs. HR sent out a chart last year. Not helping, Derek. Jack took a step toward me, his hands up in a placating gesture. Emma, I didn't know you worked here. Maya didn't mention the company name. You didn't mention the company name. You just said mid-sized tech company. Do you know how many of those there are in Seattle? Several hundred, I said weakly. Exactly. He smiled, that same warm smile from the restaurant, though it looked a little strained now. Probably because he was covered in coffee and being yelled at by a low-level employee in front of half the office. This is unexpected, but it doesn't change anything about Friday night. It changes everything. I gestured wildly, nearly hitting Sarah this time. You're my CEO. I'm a content writer. I'm like 17 levels below you on the corporate ladder. 16, Derek corrected again. Derek, I swear to God. Everyone back to work. Richard finally found his voice, clapping his hands like we were school children. Nothing to see here. Just a workplace incident. We'll handle it. Everyone go. The crowd dispersed slowly, reluctantly, like people leaving a really good concert. I could hear them whisper. I spent the next hour hiding in the women's bathroom while Maya tried to coax me out. Emma, you're being ridiculous, she said through the door. So he's the CEO. So what? So what? I yanked open the door, making her jump back. I told him about the time I accidentally sent an email to the entire company suggesting we rebrand our software as Cloudy McCloudface. He thought it was hilarious. He probably thought I was joking. I wasn't joking. I legitimately thought it was a good idea. Wait, that was you? Maya's eyes widened. That email became a legend. People still bring it up in meetings. Richard has it printed out in his office as a joke. I groaned, sinking to the floor. The bathroom floor. I was sitting on the bathroom floor at work because my life was a disaster. My life is over. Your life is not over. If anything, this is romantic. CEO falls for regular employee. It's like a movie. It's like a lawsuit waiting to happen. I corrected. There are probably rules about this. HR rules. Fraternization policies. Those things exist for a reason, Maya. Maya's expression shifted, and I could see the moment reality hit her. Oh. I hadn't thought about that. Of course you hadn't. You were too busy setting me up with MY bosses. 16 levels, we established that. Not the point. There was a knock on the bathroom door. A male knock. A terrifyingly familiar voice followed. Emma? It's Jack.
Can we talk?
Maya's eyes went wide as saucers. She mouthed, "Oh my God," about 17 times while making frantic gestures at the door that I couldn't even begin to interpret. Go away. I called out. I'm busy being mortified. I'll wait. It might take a while. Like, years maybe. I've got time. I'm the CEO. There was a pause. That came out wrong. I'm not pulling rank. I just mean, I don't have anywhere else to be. My suit is covered in coffee, anyway. Already ruined. Despite everything, the mortification, the panic, the fact that I was sitting on a bathroom floor, I almost laughed. Almost. That's not funny. I called back. But it kind of is though, right? He sounded hopeful. I mean, we match now. Both coffee-stained. Very coordinated. Maya was now making shoving motions toward the door while mouthing "talk to him," so aggressively that I was worried she'd pull something. I shook my head violently. Emma, I'm serious about wanting to see you again, Jack said through the door. I don't care that you work here. Actually, that's not true. I care a lot because it complicates things, but I still want to figure it out. If you want to figure it out. Why? I asked, my voice smaller than I intended. Why would you want to date someone who writes about data encryption and burns toast, and just dumped coffee all over you in front of half the company? There was a long pause. Long enough that I thought maybe he'd left.
Then.
Because when I'm with you, I forget about board meetings and quarterly reports and stockholder expectations and all the stuff that usually takes up space in my head. You make me laugh. Real, genuine laughter. Not the polite chuckle I give to bad jokes at corporate dinners or the fake laugh I use when investors tell stories. You're smart and funny and completely yourself, And you don't treat me like I'm the CEO. You treated me like I was just Jack, some guy who laughs too much at bad jokes. And I haven't met anyone like that in, honestly, I'm not sure I ever have. Maya was now full-on crying, clutching her chest like she was watching the series finale of her favorite show. She'd pulled out her phone and was texting someone, probably the entire office. Also, Jack continued, you're the only person in this entire company who's ever told me our cloud storage is boring. Everyone else treats every word I say like it's brilliant innovation. Last week, someone thanked me for my visionary insights because I said maybe we should have healthier snacks in the break room. It's exhausting. You're refreshing. You're real. Because it is boring, I said weakly, but I was smiling a little. Exactly. He sounded delighted.
See?
You get it.
Please come out.
Let's talk to HR. Let's figure this out. Together. Maya was nodding so enthusiastically, I thought her head might fall off. What if HR says no? I asked. Then we'll figure something else out. Emma, I'm not asking you to solve this alone. We're in this together. If you want to be. I looked at Maya, who was making prayer hands and mouthing please over and over. Okay, I said finally. Okay, but if I get fired, you're not getting fired. I promise. You can't promise that. You could get fired too. I'm the CEO. So? Boards fire CEOs all the time. There was a pause then. Are you actually worried about me getting fired? Someone should be. You're covered in coffee and standing outside the women's bathroom. His laugh echoed through the hallway. Come out, Emma. Please. I stood up, brushed off my pants. Why did I brush off my pants? The floor was actually pretty clean, and opened the door. Jack was sitting on the floor in the hallway, his expensive suit jacket off, his tie loosened, his white shirt sporting a large brown coffee stain. He looked absolutely ridiculous and completely wonderful. You're sitting on the floor, I observed. You were in there for 45 minutes. I got tired. He stood up, brushing off his pants, so apparently I wasn't the only one who did that. HR is waiting for us, by the way. Jennifer from HR. She's not happy. My stomach dropped. I'm fired, aren't I?
What?
No. Why would you be fired? Because I yelled at the CEO? Because I dumped coffee on you? Because I suggested a product name that became a company-wide joke? Because I'm pretty sure I violated about 17 different professional conduct policies in the last hour. Emma, you're not fired. He looked genuinely concerned, and he reached out like he was going to take my hand, then thought better of it. We just need to talk to HR about policy. If we want to see each other, we need to do it by the book. That means disclosure, documentation, making sure there's no conflict of interest. That sounds romantic, I said sarcastically. It's necessary, he corrected gently. I don't want this to blow up in our faces. Not when we're just getting started. If we're getting started. Are we getting started? I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd laughed at my terrible jokes, who'd walked me to my terrible car, who was now sitting on a hallway floor covered in coffee because I'd had a panic attack. This man who happened to be the CEO of my company and was apparently willing to navigate HR bureaucracy just to see me again. I guess we're getting started, I said. His smile could have powered the entire building. Maya squeezed my shoulder. I'll come with you. For moral support. You've done enough, I told her, but I was smiling a little. This is your fault. You're welcome, she said cheerfully. The HR meeting was exactly as awkward as expected, but somehow worse. Jennifer from HR looked like she'd aged 5 years in the span of our conversation. She kept pinching the bridge of her nose and sighing in a way that suggested she was regretting every career decision that had led her to this moment. So let me get this straight, she said for what felt like the 100th time. You two went on a blind date, not knowing who the other person was, and now you want to continue dating despite the obvious power dynamic issues? Yes, Jack said firmly. And you understand this will require Emma to report to a different supervisor, regular check-ins with HR, mandatory disclosure to her immediate management chain, and quarterly reviews to ensure there's no favoritism or conflict of interest? Whatever it takes, he said, looking at me. Jennifer turned to me. Emma? You're very quiet. Do you actually want this, or are you feeling pressured because he's the CEO?
Everyone looked at me.
Jack, Maya, Jennifer, and Richard, who'd been called in as my supervisor and looked like he wanted to be literally anywhere else. I looked at Jack, really looked at him. He was watching me with those blue eyes, waiting, not pushing. The man who'd laughed at my terrible jokes, who'd walked me to my car, who'd sat on a hallway floor waiting for me to stop freaking out. The man who could probably date anyone, models, executives, people who didn't burn toast, and he was sitting here, covered in coffee, willing to go through HR bureaucracy for me. I want to see where this goes, I said. But if I get transferred to a different team and end up writing about printer software instead of cloud storage, I'm blaming you. Jack's face broke into that huge smile, the one that had made me agree to a second date in the restaurant parking lot. Printer software is hilarious. So many paper jams. So much comedic potential. PC load letter, I said. What does that even mean? He laughed, and Jennifer looked like she regretted every single life choice. I'll draw up the paperwork, she said wearily. Emma, you'll be transferred to the product marketing team under Susan. Jack, you're to have no direct or indirect supervisory authority over Emma. No favorable treatment, no unfavorable treatment if things go south. This is a professional workplace. Understood, we both said. And for the love of God, Jennifer added, be discreet. The rumor mill is already working overtime. I've gotten 17 emails about this in the last hour. As we left her office, Jack turned to me. So, we're doing this? Apparently, I said. But you're buying me a new blouse. This coffee stain isn't coming out.
Deal.
I'll buy you 10 blouses. I don't need 10 blouses. 20 then. That's not how math works. See? He grinned. You're funny again. The next few weeks were weird. Really, really weird. I got transferred to the product marketing team, which was actually a relief because it meant I got to work with Susan, who was legendary for being both brilliant and terrifying. On my first day, she looked at me, looked at the coffee-stained memo about my transfer, and said, "You're the one who threw coffee on the CEO." It was an accident, I said weakly. Best accident that ever happened to this company, she replied. The man has been smiling for 2 weeks straight. It's unsettling. Now, can you write, or was that all bullshit on your resume? I could write. Turns out, writing about cloud storage had prepared me well for writing about basically anything tech-related. Susan was demanding but fair, and she didn't treat me any differently because of who I was dating. If anything, she was harder on me, probably to avoid any appearance of favoritism. The office gossip, though. Oh, the gossip. Some people congratulated me. Others gave me suspicious looks, probably wondering if I'd slept my way into some kind of promotion. I hadn't gotten a promotion. I'd gotten a lateral move, a whole lot of anxiety, and a boyfriend who owned more watches than I owned pairs of shoes. Derek started a betting pool on how long we'd last. I found out about it when he accidentally sent me the spreadsheet instead of sending it to Sarah. The current odds had us at less than 3 months, 5 to 13 to 6 months, 3 to 16 months to a year, 2 to 1 more than a year, 10 to 1 marriage, 50 to 1. Jack thought it was hilarious and insisted on placing a bet himself. He put down money on forever, which wasn't even a category, so Derek had to create a new one specifically for him. That's not how betting pools work, I told him when he showed me the updated spreadsheet. I'm the CEO. I make the rules. About betting pools? About everything. He'd kissed me then, right there in the parking garage, and I'd forgotten why I was supposed to be concerned about anything. Our second official date was to a comedy club downtown. Jack had scored tickets to see a pretty well-known comedian, and I'd been excited until I realized something crucial. Jack had absolutely no poker face. Every single punchline that landed, he'd look at me first to see if I was laughing, and then he'd laugh twice as hard. Every joke I smiled at, he lost it. The comedian actually pointed us out at one point. "You two in the back, you okay? You seem like you're having a great time." "Sorry," Jack called back. "She's funny, and it's making everything funnier." The entire audience turned to look at us. I wanted to die. I'm just sitting here. I hissed. I'm not doing anything. Your face when he told that joke about the grocery store. Jack was shaking with laughter. It was adorable and mortifying in equal measure. You know you're allowed to laugh without checking if I'm laughing first, right? I told him afterward as we walked to get ice cream because apparently we were teenagers. But your laugh is better, he said simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. My coworkers slowly got used to the idea. Maya was unbearable, constantly saying I told you so, and threatening to get ordained so she could perform the wedding ceremony I absolutely wasn't thinking about. Okay, maybe I'd thought about it once. Or twice. But that was normal, right? Sarah admitted she'd lost $50 in the betting pool because she'd bet on disaster within 2 weeks. I told her that was mean. She said it was realistic. The really weird part was how normal it all felt after a while. Jack and I had to be careful at work. No public displays of affection, no special treatment, no inside jokes in meetings. But outside of work, we were just us. Two people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company, even if one of us was a CEO and the other still drove a car held together with duct tape. You should let me buy you a new car, Jack said one evening as we left a movie theater and my Civic made a sound like a dying whale when I started it. Absolutely not. It's a death trap. It's got character. It's got duct tape. Same thing. He laughed, kissing me before I could pull out of the parking space. You're impossible. You love it, I said. He didn't deny it. 3 months in, Jack invited me to a company gala. Well, invited was a strong word. It was more like he informed me I had to go and wouldn't take no for an answer. Do I have to go? I'd whined. Those things are torture. Everyone stands around pretending to like champagne and making small talk about quarterly earnings. You're dating the CEO, he'd reminded me. You kind of have to go. It's in your contract now. It's not actually in my contract. It should be. I'll have Jennifer add it. That's an abuse of power. I prefer to think of it as creative management. So there I was, standing in my apartment, staring at my closet like it had personally betrayed me. I owned exactly one dress suitable for a fancy gala, and it was for my cousin's wedding 3 years ago. It was black, it was simple, and it made me look like I was going to a funeral for a moderately wealthy person. Maya came over to help, which meant she raided my closet, declared everything hopeless, and dragged me to Nordstrom where she insisted I try on dresses that cost more than my monthly rent. I can't afford this, I'd protested, looking at the price tag on a gorgeous blue dress. Jack can afford it, Maya countered. I'm not letting Jack buy my dress. That's pretty woman territory. You're dating him. Let him spoil you a little.
No. I was firm on this.
I'll wear the funeral dress. I wore the funeral dress. But Maya did my hair and makeup, so at least I looked good from the neck up. The gala was exactly as horrible as I'd feared. It was held at a fancy hotel downtown, the kind with crystal chandeliers and servers in bow ties carrying trays of champagne that probably cost more per glass than I made in an hour. Everyone was dressed in designer clothes, making small talk about markets and synergies and other business words that sounded important but meant nothing. Jack found me within 5 minutes. You look beautiful, he said, and he sounded like he meant it. I look like I'm mourning someone's quarterly earnings, I replied. He laughed. Of course he did. Come on, let me introduce you to some people. The next hour was a blur of names I wouldn't remember and hands I shook while trying not to spill my champagne, which I didn't actually like but was holding for moral support. People kept giving me speculative looks, clearly trying to figure out who I was and why I was with Jack. This is Emma, Jack would say. She works in product marketing. Oh, they'd reply, their faces doing complicated calculations. How nice. Translation: You're not important enough to matter. Halfway through the evening, Jack had to give a speech. I stood in the back, sipping my second glass of terrible champagne and wondering if I could sneak out to check if the hotel had a good buffet situation. Before I talk about this year's achievements, Jack said from the stage, his voice carrying across the ballroom, I want to tell you all a story. Oh no. A few months ago, I went on a blind date. He paused, and the room went quiet. I was nervous. I hadn't been on a date in 2 years because I'd been too focused on work. But this woman, she was different. She told me about her boring job writing about cloud storage, her burnt toast, her coworker who sent memes to HR by accident. And I laughed. I laughed harder than I had in years. The room had gone completely silent. Everyone was staring at him. And then, inevitably, they started looking around for whoever he was talking about. I tried to make myself smaller, which is difficult when you're 5'7" and wearing heels. I didn't know she worked here, he continued, and I could see people's faces change as they started putting the pieces together. Didn't know that her boring job was writing the content that explains our products to millions of customers. Didn't know that her terrible jokes about cloud storage were about our cloud storage, the product we've spent years developing. Some people laughed. I wanted to dissolve into the floor. But you know what? I'm glad I didn't know. Because I fell for her completely as herself, not as an employee or a colleague or someone in our corporate structure. Just as Emma, he looked right at me and everyone followed his gaze. The funniest, smartest, most genuine person I'd ever met, even if she doesn't believe it herself. 200 pairs of eyes turned to look at me. I was pretty sure I stopped breathing. Emma, could you come up here? Absolutely not, I said, but my voice didn't carry because I wasn't holding a microphone and also because Maya, who had somehow materialized next to me, was literally pushing me forward. Go, she hissed. This is your moment. This is my nightmare. I hissed back, but my feet were moving, carrying me through the crowd toward the stage. People were smiling at me now, some even clapping. I climbed the stairs on shaky legs, very aware that one wrong move in these heels would result in me face-planting in front of the entire company. Jack took my hand, squeezing it gently. Up close, I could see he was nervous too. There was a slight tremor in his hand, a tightness around his eyes. I want everyone to know, he said, his voice softer now but still carrying through the sound system, that this woman makes me happy. Really happy. She keeps me grounded. She tells me when I'm being ridiculous, which is often. She sends me photos of burnt food and thinks it's hilarious. She's completely herself, always, and she doesn't care that I'm the CEO.
To her, I'm just Jack.
Just some guy who laughs too much at bad jokes. You do laugh too much, I whispered, and he grinned. And I love all of it, he continued. I love that she called our flagship product boring to my face. I love that she thinks my watch is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, I interjected. It costs more than my car. The audience laughed. Real laughter, not polite corporate chuckling. I love that she drives a car held together with duct tape and won't let me buy her a new one because she says it has character. I love that she's standing up here right now looking like she wants to die, but doing it anyway because he turned to face me fully, because she's brave and real and everything I didn't know I was missing. You're embarrassing me in front of the entire company, I whispered. Is it working? Depends on your goal. My goal is to tell you, in front of everyone, that you're important to me. That this isn't just some random thing or a phase or a weird dating experiment. That I'm serious about us. About you. I looked out at the crowd. My team was there, grinning. Susan looked like she was trying not to smile, and failing. Maya was full-on sobbing. Derek was probably updating his betting spreadsheet, and based on the expression of the woman next to him, telling her about it. You're crazy, I told Jack. About you? Absolutely. And then he kissed me, right there on stage, in front of the entire company, while people cheered and whistled. I forgot to be mortified because I was too busy being happy, my hands fisting in his jacket, his arms around my waist, the microphone feedback squealing, because we gotten too close to it. When we finally broke apart, he was grinning like he'd won the lottery. Did I mention I'm madly in love with you? He said, and the microphone picked it up, broadcasting it to everyone. The crowd went absolutely wild. You're going to give Jennifer a heart attack, I said. Worth it. 6 months later, I was sitting in Jack's office, something I tried not to do too often because people already talked enough, helping him prepare for presentation to the board. This slide is boring, I told him, pointing at the screen showing quarterly revenue projections. It's about quarterly earnings. It's supposed to be boring. Everything's boring when you present it like this. Add a joke. Make it fun. A joke about earnings? He looked skeptical. To the board of directors? Why not? Your audience is half asleep by slide 3 anyway. Give them something to wake up for. Make them laugh. He studied me for a moment, that smile playing at his lips. The same smile I'd seen across the table at our first date, when I'd been convinced something was wrong with him. You know, when we first met, I never imagined you'd end up being my unofficial comedy consultant. I prefer a girlfriend who calls you out on your boring presentations. I prefer love of my life who makes everything better, he countered. I threw a pen at him. He caught it without looking, the show off, and laughed.
See?
That's what I mean. You're funny even when you're not trying to be. Jack, I literally just threw office supplies at you. And it was perfect. He set down his laptop, coming around the desk. Your comedic timing is impeccable. You need help. I need you, he corrected, pulling me to my feet. I rolled my eyes, but I was smiling. 6 months, and he still laughed at everything I did. The difference was now I was starting to think maybe I actually was a little bit funny. Or maybe he just loved me enough that everything seemed funnier when I did it. Either way, I'd stopped questioning it. Hey, Emma. He set down his laptop, suddenly serious in a way that made my stomach flip. Yeah, remember that betting pool Derek started? The one where you bet on forever? Yeah, I remember. You're still losing money on it. Not for long. He reached into his desk drawer. Jack, what are you? He pulled out a small velvet box. My brain short-circuited.
Completely.
I think I stopped breathing. I had a whole plan, he said, opening the box to reveal a ring. A simple, beautiful ring that looked nothing like the flashy, expensive thing I would have expected. I was going to do this at that restaurant where we met. Had the whole thing arranged. But then you came up here to help me with this presentation, and you were eating M&Ms from the vending machine and had chocolate on your chin, and you told me my slide about market penetration was boring, and I just couldn't wait. I have chocolate on my chin right now. I reached up to wipe it. He laughed, because of course he did.
Had.
Past tense. And it was adorable. I'm not adorable. I'm a mess. You're my mess. He got down on one knee, which was ridiculous because we were in his office and anyone could walk in, and this was definitely against some kind of HR policy. Emma, you make me laugh every single day. Real laughter. The kind that makes my face hurt. You call me out when I'm being ridiculous. You won't let me buy you things even though I desperately want to spoil you. You drive a car that sounds like it's dying and refuse to get a new one because it has character. You're everything I didn't know I needed. Jack. I know this is fast. I know it's complicated. I know Jennifer from HR is going to have approximately 17 heart attacks when she finds out. But I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Will you marry me? I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd laughed at my cloud storage jokes, who'd sat on a bathroom hallway floor for me, who'd stood on a stage and told everyone he loved me. This man who made me feel like I was funny and smart and enough, exactly as I was. Yes, I said. Yes, you absolute lunatic. Yes. He stood up so fast, he almost knocked over his desk chair, sliding the ring onto my finger and kissing me like his life depended on it. From somewhere down the hall, I heard Derek yell, I knew it. They're engaged. Sarah, everyone owes me money. I'm retiring early on these winnings. I pulled back, laughing against Jack's lips. Your employees are running a betting pool on our relationship. Our employees, he corrected, kissing me again. And I know. I may have encouraged it. Also, I won like $3,000. You bet on your own proposal? I bet on us. Best investment I ever made. He wasn't wrong. Maya burst into the office approximately 30 seconds later, saw the ring, and screamed so loud that security called to check if everything was okay. I told you, she shrieked, hugging me so hard I couldn't breathe. I told you he was perfect for you. You set me up with my CEO without telling me. Details. Not important. You're getting married. Susan appeared in the doorway, took one look at the situation, and sighed. I'm going to need to do so much paperwork for this. Jennifer is going to murder me. Put it in my file as CEO causing chaos again, Jack suggested. That file is already 3 inches thick, Susan replied, but she was smiling. Congratulations, you two. Try not to break any more rules for at least a week. No promises, I said. Over the next few hours, word spread through the office faster than a particularly infectious virus. People kept stopping by to congratulate us, some sincere, some clearly just wanting to see the ring and get first-hand gossip to share. Derek presented Jack with his betting pool winnings in a formal envelope marked "Told you so." You should frame this, Derek said seriously. Proof that I believed in your love. You bet on 3 months, Jack pointed out. That was a hedge bet. My heart bet was on forever. As the office slowly cleared out for the evening, Jack and I sat in his office, my head on his shoulder, looking at the ring on my finger. So, I said, we're really doing this. Apparently, he kissed the top of my head. Any regrets? Just one. What's that? I should have charged you more for ruining your suit with coffee. Could have paid for the wedding. His laugh echoed through the empty office, and I smiled. The wedding was 6 months later, small, intimate, absolutely nothing like what people probably expected from a CEO's wedding. We got married in a small venue outside the city, with Maya as my maid of honor and Derek as Jack's best man because Jack thought it was hilarious and Derek had earned it with his dedication to the betting pool. Jennifer from HR attended and spent the entire ceremony looking like she was still processing the paperwork implications. Susan gave a toast that included the phrase, against my better judgment, "They actually work," which I considered high praise. My vows included a joke about cloud storage. Jack laughed so hard he cried. The officiant looked confused. It was perfect. For our first dance, Jack whispered, I can't believe you married me. I can't believe you still laugh at all my jokes, I replied. Best decision I ever made. Laughing at my jokes or marrying me? Both.
He spun me around.
Definitely both. Maya caught the bouquet and immediately started planning her own wedding to her boyfriend of 3 months. Sarah won the betting pool for wedding within a year and bought us an extremely expensive coffee maker as a gift, which she said was symbolic. Derek made a speech about believing in love and statistics and how sometimes the best odds are the ones you make up yourself. He got a little drunk and tried to start a new betting pool on when we'd have kids. Jack shut it down immediately, though I caught him putting money on 2 years. As we left the reception, climbing into a car that was definitely not my duct tape mobile, Jack had finally convinced me to upgrade. Though I'd insisted on keeping the old one for memories, I looked at my husband, and smiled. What? He asked. Just thinking about how this all started. A blind date where you laughed at everything I said. You were funny. I really wasn't. You really were. He took my hand, the one with the ring. You were funny. And smart. And the best thing that ever happened to me. Even better than being CEO of a successful tech company. Not even close. The company's great, but it never made me laugh until I cried. It never sent me pictures of burnt toast. It never threw coffee on me and then hid in a bathroom. I apologize for that. Best coffee stain of my life. I leaned over and kissed him. You're ridiculous. You love it. He wasn't wrong. 6 months after that, I was sitting in our apartment, which still felt surreal, working on a blog post about cybersecurity when Jack came home from work early. Hey, I said, not looking up from my laptop. You're home early. Board meeting get canceled. Something like that. He sounded weird, nervous. I looked up. He was holding something behind his back and grinning like he'd just won the lottery. What did you do? Remember that betting pool Derek started? The new one about kids. My heart stopped. Jack. He pulled out a onesie that said loading. Please wait with a little loading bar underneath. We're. I couldn't even form words. We're having a baby, he said, and his voice cracked a little. That positive pregnancy test you took this morning that you thought you hid in the bathroom trash? I found it. I'm sorry for snooping. I was throwing something away, and I threw my arms around him. Laptop forgotten. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. He picked me up and spun me around, both of us laughing and crying at the same time. Derek's going to lose his mind, I said. Derek already knows. I texted him from the car. He's demanding to be the godfather. He can't just demand that. I already said yes. He promised to teach our kid about statistical probability and betting pools. We're going to be terrible parents. We're going to be amazing parents. He set me down, his hands on my face. Our kid is going to have your sense of humor. God help them. And my ability to laugh at everything. So, they'll be obnoxious? They'll be perfect. He kissed me. Just like you. Just like us, I corrected. And somewhere in the city, I was pretty sure Derek was already starting a new betting pool about whether it would be a boy or a girl, and Maya was crying happy tears, and Jennifer from HR was updating her files with yet another chapter in the saga of Emma and Jack Morrison. But in that moment, in our apartment, with Jack's hands on my still flat stomach and the onesie on the counter and my laptop showing a half-finished blog post about cybersecurity that suddenly seemed way less important, I just laughed. Because sometimes the best stories start with a blind date and a man who laughs too much. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, they never stop being funny.